Welcome to the Quota podcast. I'm Dylan Fall.
I'm Gavin Malcolm.
And we are going to help you fill your joy quota.
And this week we are talking with Sam Kerber. He is one of the most spectacular individuals. He's literally a rocket scientist and a nuclear physicist, and somehow he still has a personality. He's the coolest.
Rocket Doctor.
Rocket Doctor.
He was our roommate for a year. He has the best stories of all time. Check it out. Thanks for listening.
Enjoy.
But I think
Where are you finding 3 hours a day to
you
work
got to
out?
realize, man, like I don't have a job.
That
helps. I'm
yeah.
in June. I'm back at it, but because of like the medical leave and everything, then it's just whatever I want to do.
Yeah, I'm buying my 24-hour membership tonight through Costco. They have a sweet deal where it's like 2 years for like $450. It's
No
like a
way.
really good deal.
Yeah,
It's like less than $20 a month.
that's great. That's
Because
great.
Is that, I don't know, I've never been to a gym. Is that cheap?
yeah, for sure.
No idea.
I mean, like, I think their regular one is like 20-something, like close to 30, maybe 30-something. So, like, it's half off or a little more.
Okay.
And I can't work out of the house. I tried everything to, like, get myself motivated to do it at the house. And I just, I have to have a place to go where there's nothing but for me to, like, I don't want to look at my phone. I don't want to look at a TV. I don't want anything there that isn't me working out.
See,
And I'll just ferociously attack it for like 45 minutes.
I find something that I like a TV show or a movie, okay? And, like, the more, like, macho manly it is, the better.
yeah.
So like Top Gun.
I've watched this.
Rocky. Top Gun.
We lived together.
The other day, I watched Grand Tour, you know, Jeremy Clarkson and everyone. Watched that.
The epitome of manlyhood.
Yeah.
He's in such good shape.
He looks like if the color gray became a human.
No.
You know?
I'm picturing like...
But then was in a sports car.
Yeah, exactly. So what I do, like I wait for everybody to get out of the house and things calm down. It's the morning. It's 9 a.m. or so. I'm waking up. I put on the TV, and my favorite is like a movie or two manly shows.
Yeah.
And I get jacked up on the testosterone, and I just like do reps for hours.
I remember.
For hours.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's not fast. It's not like intense, but it's just ever constant.
It's just like,
and just never changing movement.
On Wednesday last week, I watched Law Abiding Citizen. Great movie.
Oh, I just watched that again too for the first time in years.
Yeah,
So
for the
good.
first time in years. Exactly.
Gerard Butler is always
so good.
a good
you know?
motivator to go
And
get shredded.
yeah, and it's like a revenge movie where it's like, I'm gonna right the wrongs, you know? So I picked up my weight and I just like, on each arm, I just did reps until I couldn't move my arms, and then I drop the weight down and I do it until I can't move my arms. And that's like an hour and 48 minutes or something, you know, that movie. And so it's like, you know, that's essentially a 2-hour workout if you just watch the movie and do reps the whole time, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird workout because I've seen you do it.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you're just
yeah.
not...
It's
Like, it's weird because you're not, like, sweating.
Yeah, well, and it's, I think for me what works is the distraction aspect, you know? Like, I see him going out there for his revenge murder or whatever, and, like, I'm like, yeah, it's righteous, and then that gives me
You
strength
put
to
yourself in his place, like...
Yeah, kind of,
this is exactly what I would do.
Yeah, exactly. And, yeah, you know, or, like, I get into it. I've been watching The Punisher on Netflix, which, all right, spoiler alerts.
Yeah, I guess...
Season 1 of The Punisher, he punishes, right? You're like, yeah, he punishes. Season 2 of The Punisher, a lot less punishing.
Really?
I was so disappointed. Season 2 came out, I was like, I'm going to get yoked. I'm going to watch The Punisher. I'm going to do push-ups the whole time. And then you're like watching somebody talking in a dining room, and you're like, "This isn't what I want to do."
It's like General
all right.
Hospital. Or...
Yeah, that's why I look
think-
like this, because I watched The Punisher.
I've been
and I'm just
watching
like,
a lot of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
I look good in scrubs. That's about it.
Yeah, that's the dream.
All right, here's a deal.
All right.
First one to a six-pack has to buy the other person a six-pack for a month.
Okay. Yeah,
Or
I'd
no,
be into
sorry,
that.
not
Wait,
for a month, for a year. Every month for a year.
like the other. So
I'll
like,
get down on that.
Whoever
I'll
gets
do
a six
that.
pack,
I'll do that.
not included because he already
Yeah,
has it.
Dylan's like, oh yeah,
But I want to be the judge.
sure.
I'll be the judge.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
like
right.
whoever gets
All
in,
right.
like where it crosses the line and it counts of like you officially have abs. That's a six pack. First person
Sure,
there.
sure.
He just said he works out 3 hours a day. Are you sure you
And granted, you know,
take on this?
it's only like an hour of abs. You know?
Okay. An
But-
hour of
But
abs.
it's not intense. It's a very
Yeah,
chill.
yeah.
3 hours.
It's
Versus
like-
But he's also a rocket scientist, so I think if like competition's on the line, he might like I don't know, Google.
He does
how to
have-
get a six pack.
he has
Get into some
infinitely
weird
more
science
he
about
has
it.
infinitely more time on his hands, but I effectively
yeah.
have more money, so I can eat better.
Oh, see, that's interesting because I am on a very low calorie diet for financial reasons.
It could go either way, but mostly
I'm excited.
This
for
this turns into
Yeah.
like
I want to see both of you guys
Yeah.
in
I
shape.
think okay.
I'm arguably in shape. I'm just not in the best shape I could be.
I think the best part is like doing a study afterwards. How many six packs can Sam drink every week to lose his
the
six pack?
Yeah, see, I like
Yeah.
that part of it as well because it's a very good reward.
That
And then I-
undoes everything we've worked for.
Therefore, making it silly and irrelevant,
Yeah.
which is my favorite. part.
Yeah.
Also,
I'm down. I'll shake on
I'm
that. Yeah, let's
only
do it.
capable
Let's do
of
it.
doing something.
Let's do it.
If there's like
Some competitive aspect.
no, not even competitive. Like I just have to be doing it with
An accountability buddy.
others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I literally can't do anything if it's just me. Every part of what gets
I can do a
me
lot of things if it's just me, but
motivated
not like good things.
involves
Yeah.
I have to get
Yeah.
other people excited
Yeah.
about what I'm doing.
How do you
Oh, it definitely
masturbate?
helps.
Well, largely online, but
Like in
That's
front
just-
of people online?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I post it later. And no.
Like
I'm
they
actually
have
in a
those
different
sites where you hit the
challenge.
button and it goes ding ding ding.
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah,
It gives
yeah.
you the money.
I'm in a different
canned
challenge
service.
for who can go the longest without masturbating with a different person. I make a lot of challenges in my life.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way I'll get things done. It is the
I would do
hardest
that with some
competition.
kind of like sex addict. I would make that bet.
So that's what I've done.
With a sex addict.
Yes.
So you were like, I made it in 3 hours. And he's like, damn, I did it on the bus
Well,
today.
We changed the rules so that it was he can't go to the Diamond Cabaret and I can't masturbate. That seems like because he's on a first name basis with the employees there.
I'm on a first name basis with strippers, but it's only because of my nonprofit Strippers for Health Food. They do strippers go out and they represent health food, local organic health food.
They stand outside of a natural grocer's, mostly natural.
Mostly natural. You know, it's tasteful. It's tasteful. But there's, you know, a lot of places are on some kind of corner, especially grocery stores. There's a lot of poles around, light poles,
Yeah.
you know, stoplights, that kind
They'll
of
find
stuff.
a pole,
Yeah.
one way or another.
I mean, this is a brilliant non-profit you got
Yeah,
there. I
yeah.
feel like you're going to get a lot of
We put a
donations.
lot of money
the link is
back
in the
in the
description
community.
below.
I'd like to
Link in
know.
the description. I donate to Strippers for Charity today.
How great would that be? Like, use the worst part of mankind to fund the best
To
part of
better
mankind.
mankind.
Right? Like,
It's for
Call that the
education.
worst part
Yeah,
of man.
yeah.
Strippers are
Maybe-
not.
no.
That
Yeah.
is
no,
exactly
I'm
what
not
it is.
saying strippers are the worst. I'm saying the instinct that makes
The
us like,
lustful part
yeah,
of
I'm
mankind.
gonna go look at titties. Like, it's just a terrible part of what makes us a man, right? Like, you can't deny that's like of all of the things that make men wonderful, all of the things that we do well. That's not one of them, right? Like, it's what
Well,
makes
because
everything.
that's
all
not
right.
our thing.
Yeah,
Like I don't enjoy it. You don't enjoy it. So
Sam loves it.
we can
get it.
we can- yeah. Okay, so this was the friend. This was the
No.
the secret friend.
It is
that
a
Secret
different friend.
His name's Sam Kerber.
No, this friend does have a mullet, which is surprising.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Speaking of crazy hairdos, I dropped off my phone today at the Sprint store. Guess how long the rat tail of the gentleman in front of me was?
17.
17 units of measurement.
17 lengths of hair.
Decimeters.
17 lengths of hair.
It was about
the rat tail on his back.
That's 17
It was
inches. I'll give
almost.
you that
It was
17 inches.
probably
He, like-
20 to 24 inches.
And like rat tail like Anakin in the
it was
prequels.
even worse. It was just a buzzed head with like maybe like a number 3, and then just a tuft, like
Hot.
a ponytail worth of rat tail. Like, and it wasn't at the base of the head. It was like close to. So
Yeah.
there's still shaved stuff
Yeah.
underneath. It was
Hot.
the worst look
Hot.
I've
Hot.
ever
Did
seen.
you guys have
a
rat tails as
person-
kids?
No,
No.
I've thought about
did.
growing
I
one.
knew
did.
somebody who
I
did. I
did.
knew somebody who
I
did.
definitely did. And
Yeah.
like I vividly remember one time we would go to like Great Clips or Fantastic Sam's wherever my mom had like the $5 coupon.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it so much. I don't know why. I wish I could remember why.
Was it
but I
like
loved
was it braided or anything?
No, just
it was
just
just a
a
straight.
thin, no, just a
Did you
tiny
did you
little
like
strip of hair.
rubber band
And
it
was
on
like
the bottom so it stayed
maybe
together?
6.
or-
It was. We're talking 4 inches.
That's still
That's
pretty
a
good.
good
That's
rat
still
tail.
pretty good.
Because how old were
Yeah.
you?
like I couldn't even tell you.
Because on a
If I
child's
would-
head,
I
4
would
inches is
say-
like the small of your back.
I'm hoping under 8. I couldn't say exactly. Yeah, I would say like 6 to 8.
Have you erased
Okay.
all photo evidence of this?
No, it exists somewhere. I saw some.
In
find
8th
it
grade,
recently.
I had surfer bro hair, like below my shoulders, long surfer bro hair.
Oh, that's sick.
But
though.
but see, here's the thing. I was in 8th grade and I hadn't quite gone through the puberty yet, right? Like I was starting it. But when you saw me, you were like, what a delightful young woman. She someday will become a judge
Yeah.
or do something that's beneficial to people.
She's
and then I
gonna
would
be a
turn around and
teacher.
they'd be like, oh no, he's just going to smoke weed and surf. Oh, bummer. Oh no. And I have erased, to my knowledge, every photo that's ever existed
it is
in
my
that time
new mission.
period.
I have
That's a
your
bummer.
mom's phone number. It is my
mom's
new
got it,
mission
yeah.
to find this photo.
She's probably posted on
I
Facebook.
defy you
I
to
bet
try.
you.
I defy you to try.
I know
I
that
bet
you're a
you-
thorough person, so it's possible.
I
but
think it
also,
would be very
I feel
difficult.
like Shannon Kerber is a hoarder in some place.
There's a
There's
photo of me in
this.
8th grade
Yeah.
with long hair trying not to sing Jewel songs.
Showed it to us. For some reason,
Oh, I
I
hope not.
I
Oh,
remember.
I
no.
vaguely remember
Oh,
this.
man.
Yeah.
You might have been real messed up after one of your surgeries,
And yeah,
and we were just going.
that's fair. You know, I have no idea how many surgeries I've had. Like
That's like how I feel about concussions.
that explains so much.
Not competitions.
No.
You want to have it? Do you have a hammer? Let's go. We'll
Yeah,
concuss it up.
Let's max this puppy out. Well, so just real fast, because we're all good friends, I'm realizing we've never actually introduced you. This is Sam Kerber, the one and only rocket doctor, part rocket scientist, part nuclear physicist, part roommate.
All awesomeness.
Equals 100% dope. Thanks
Guys,
for joining us today.
can you see how hard I'm blushing?
I can.
That's good.
Through all of your foundation.
I know. I put on a lot of rosy makeup thinking that it would kind of mellow it out a little bit. Now you guys are wondering, did he? Did he not? Did he?
It could
Did
go
he
both
not?
ways. I was
It
mostly,
could go
I was
either
mostly
way.
taking that moment to pause and silently judge myself.
Oh.
Because my face feels quite warm because I'm really thoroughly enjoying this.
Yeah.
And it's actually just really hot in here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's so great.
This is actually step 1 of our challenge to get a 6-pack is we're going to just do
Sweat it out.
hot podcasts. It's the new
Yeah.
thing instead of hot yoga. It's hot podcasts.
It's a genius idea for the elite.
Yeah,
Let's
if you're
get on
really
that.
committed.
Yeah.
So we know that you're up to a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
What's new in your world?
I mean, same old, you know, I do nuclear research for the federal government. That's pretty exciting. Department of Energy, shout out. Holla.
Dude, I'm sure they're listening to this podcast.
Homeland
It's
Security,
important.
please don't go through my phone.
Or his trunk.
Yeah, so that's great. I work with renewable energy systems for the World Bank, studying ways that we can make energy infrastructure safer for at-risk communities, whether they're at war or whether they're small island nations who experience things like hurricanes or tsunamis that can wipe out entire islands, and ways to make those places safer, especially after disaster, for first responders to go in and make sure that everyone's alive, and especially look at the power systems of those places. You know, if a tsunami comes through and there's a wave that's 100 feet and it knocks down all of the power lines, how can you get around that? Stuff like that. So I do a little bit of work with that, and it's always exciting. You know, there are definitely some really cool people that you meet and some really cool ideas that you get to toss around. Like, what if we do this? What do you guys think about giant mirrors, stuff like that? You know, which is very exciting.
To like watch yourself work out in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just
I
sit
feel
under
really
it.
good about what I do for a living. I'm a construction worker / semi-pro BMX rider, so I'm doing a lot of good for the community compared to Sam.
Yeah.
What do you up to, Dylan?
You bring a lot of joy. I bring a lot of spreadsheets.
But spreadsheets equal joy. There's a spreadsheet that could probably quantify joy.
Yeah, probably. I maintain that math is fake. And that is my favorite thing to bring up with like a well-educated audience of scientists or something. If I give a talk, somewhere in the talk, I like to say math is fake, it's a construct. And then click onto the next slide and not talk at all about what I mean, you know? And I love
best.
that. Like, I work with this group, it's called the Diner Research Group, and we do nuclear research trying to figure out ways to bring a nuclear energy aspect into regions that could use that kind of power stability, right? And so, you know, it's 6 to 10 people all with doctorates or working on their doctorates, and, you know, you show a graph and you're like, oh, this is the power curve of whatever, and this is so great, math is fake. On to the next one. And every time you see people's expressions like, just morph, and I love that. I love that. Like the number 2 doesn't exist in nature, right? Like you,
Of course, everyone knows that. That's
like yeah.
Common knowledge.
What if there are 2 trees on top of the hill?
What if there are 2
and
trees?
one of them falls and no
Yeah.
one is around. Does it make sound?
Well, if there are 2 trees on top of 2 mountains, where in nature is the number 2? Like it doesn't exist. It's all just like a fake.
I love
that
so much. I'm gonna resist the urge to follow that rabbit hole because I could.
Oh,
for
it goes
hours.
so deep. People get so upset, and then it's this great curve of like highly educated people, right? People with doctorates in
Whose
mathematics.
favorite thing to do is talk to you about the school they went to.
Yeah.
All of the many sweater vests
They're like,
own.
we're into some non-Euclidean geometry. Like
Yeah.
this is all we, and you're like, okay, cool, whatever. And you tell them math is fake. And if you have some kind of graph that's like their belief in mathematics versus time, okay? It starts really high. And it's like, I believe in mathematics. And then you talk about it, right? And it reaches this point. It goes, they start thinking, maybe math is fake. And then they go, no, it's real.
It's not
real.
a bell curve. It's just a drop and then a sharp
And then just straight up line, like
to
oh,
probably
no, there it
higher
is.
than
A
before.
hard
It's a hard V, with like one
like
side
Nike
very
I
sharp.
feel like this is on you then. You have not perfected your argument.
I would
And that-
agree with that wholeheartedly, but I mean,
You
in the
technically have
end-
a lot of time to perfect it.
yeah, exactly. I have at least 2 years, you know.
Yeah,
You
3.
could dedicate your life to proving math is fake.
This is fake. These cell phones work, but I still don't believe
It's
it.
all magic.
Yeah,
Well,
it's all magic.
that's actually a perfect example. So clearly, you work in a really serious field. You do a lot of real serious things.
Yes. All right.
What
okay.
do you do to fill the tank, aka the joy quota,
Yes.
while
Yes.
you're stuck in the middle of like preparing for some?
Yes.
Like that's a perfect example, right? You make up a little thing just for you that
Yeah,
you get
yeah,
to
I
watch
think
the
for me-
audience question everything they know for
Yeah.
a second.
We're in this band, me and some of my friends who also do science. We're called Life Science.
Of course you
Shout
are.
out Life Science. Like us on
They've
Facebook.
got a gig at a street corner near you.
Bring the strippers.
yeah. It's part of the nonprofit with strippers. Yeah. So we play like hardcore funk stuff, which is really fun for me because I get to dance around and say funny things and stuff. So that's super exciting. Really big into like skiing and snowboarding. I really love that. I mean that's the best way I fill my joy quota, you know. This summer I bought a new motorcycle. And so I go as many times as I can on that. It's just
Where's your
it's too much
favorite
fun.
favorite place to
It's too much
ride
fun.
that?
Well, so we're in Denver. I like to take it on I-70 up into the mountains, and I have one headphone in, one headphone. Safety first. Okay.
The law is the law.
Yeah. Listen to music.
Damn.
Listen to music. One headphone.
The music of
helmet
the
on.
Of the funk band.
Sometimes Life
CC.
Science. I'll put on I'll put on our band and listen.
He actually listens to this podcast.
Yes, exactly. And
no, the music of the motor is not enough for you.
oh,
that's
it's
surprising.
You see, for me, that's like too sexual. It's just so like primal to me.
Yeah.
Right, and you're trying to abstain.
Yeah,
we're
exactly.
starting that one,
Yep. And so I go up somewhere into the mountains, and I just turn and I go on a road. And a lot of times I have no idea where it goes, and I just figure out where it goes. Or if I can't find the end of it, I turn around and figure out how to get back. yeah. And to me, there's something that is so exciting about that unknown aspect, where you see the road and it curves, and then you're like, where does it go after that? And you just keep kind of digging through this rabbit hole, trying to figure out, where am I going? It's a metaphor.
Yeah, we're on board. It's been laid on pretty thick.
It was pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
It was pretty on the nose.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Sam was nice enough to let me drive his bike one.
Yeah,
one
I
night.
remember that,
It's
yeah.
a blast.
Yeah, it is.
My issue with these mountain roads, though, is they drop all this gravel on.
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like you try and like I've ridden a motorcycle like 2 times in my life, so I try and go around these corners, and then all of a sudden I'm just like 2-wheel skidding on gravel on somebody else's very nice motorcycle, and the heart gets pumping like nothing.
That
I'm not a
adrenaline
fan of
courses through
using
you.
other people's things that are expensive and easily broken.
That's fair.
I could care less about crashing.
But all of our friends are so awesome that they're just like, here, take my motorcycle.
this.
Here, take my Camaro. Here, do this. Take my Porsche. You're like,
Oh,
like,
man.
And the
Here, take my
whatever.
girl. What?
Ooh, I'm going to watch.
like I
Pretend
can't
I'm
just
not here.
I can't say no. Like,
Yeah, you have
Well,
to.
and I'm
Rarely
so
I'm the
glad
one-
that you got to take it out. Like, here's the thing. If I crash my motorcycle, I'm going to be so mad at myself. If one of my friends crashes my motorcycle, I'm kind of stoked. I'm like, at least they got to go out and like they got a taste of it,
At least they got
before
that
I
first
destroyed
crash
it
in.
myself. Yeah, like
But
I like that.
how bad I would feel for that
Yeah.
would just like never go away, because that's something
Got
that
insurance. I think that's what it's for, right?
Yeah, as long as you have the right insurance, because
Yeah.
you might not have like the right coverage. See, that's why I've never let myself have a motorcycle. Is I have a pretty addictive personality, and I also really enjoy being like right on that cusp of actually death-defying or
Yeah.
like really truly dangerous. There's actually something to lose.
the idea
And-
of consequence.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I'm also a huge fan of jumping vehicles. And I don't see myself being even close to responsible with one. And I'm like, until I mellow out enough to where I can responsibly just go for a ride and I don't have to be going 20 over the speed limit around every corner, blind, on a road I've never been down, on until I can responsibly enjoy it, I can't even have a taste of it, because if I have any of it, I'll just go into the deep end.
What changed that for me, I was riding my motorcycle and I was on the highway and I was going pretty fast. And I was looking ahead trying to think, okay, if I was a policeman, where would I hide out at to try to get somebody in a speed trap? And so I'm scanning the sides of the roads, and then I see this guy like parked in his state patrol car. And I look down at my speedometer and I realize like 110 is maybe too fast in a 60.
Or it's just fast enough to where they won't catch you. Like, they won't even bother.
I'm thinking in my head.
cannot run a radio.
Yeah, you
That is
cannot run a
true.
radio. That's 300,000 meters per second, man. Of
course you know that.
This is fast.
Radio
It's fast.
frequency for a radio.
It's the speed of light, right? And
Wouldn't it
it's-
be the speed of sound?
Well, the radio works on EM waves.
Okay.
Yeah. Hashtag PBS, the more you know.
Wait, so
And-
EM waves are light?
Yeah, radio
Okay, I
waves
didn't know
are light waves. You just
Okay,
can't
I
see
did not
them.
know
Yeah, yeah. And I look down on my speedometer and I realize I'm going, 110 and a 60, and maybe that's too fast. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm going to lose my license. I'm going to lose my license. This is really bad because here in Colorado, if you get pulled over going more than 100, they revoke your license. So
Not true. I was
really?
well.
Then I worried for nothing.
I not that far ago was in a driver's class for a ticket I got. I was going 10 over in a construction zone, and I was going 55 on the highway, and there was no construction
Right.
happening. And I was driving a WRX, so of course I got pulled over, right? And I'm in this class with a bunch of kids. One of the kids was going $145, and he got less
God.
severe of a ticket than I did. And I was like, this kid's 18.
Profiling.
Cone zone?
Going-
Profiling.
Cone zone.
So god dang fast.
Cone zone.
I was like, dude, and the cop even pulled me over and he's like, what's going on? And I told him, I had a fairly reasonable, it wasn't there is no technically, a real justification for it, but
Right.
I was
If your wife is in the passenger seat and she's having a baby,
Yeah.
you could be like, she's having a baby. I figured 55 and a 45, maybe it was okay.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that didn't happen.
No, and
Yeah.
the guy was such a jerk about it, and I even got to the class, and most of the kids had been rounded up in a street racing league,
Awesome.
and every kid was well over 100 miles an hour when they got pulled over.
And they didn't lose their license.
They didn't lose their license, and they got a
Interesting.
less severe ticket
Interesting.
for less points and less of a fine than me going 10 over.
I mean, it totally
Cone zone.
varies because I've heard you lose your license over.
Yeah,
100.
yeah, that's what I
Many
thought. So
times.
I see this guy and I realize I'm going 110 and I start slowing down. But I don't want to grip the brake really hard because I figure he'll see me
Yeah.
slow down, right? So I slow down, and by the time I get to the cop, I'm going about 80, which is still 20 over the speed limit. So I'm still thinking, I'm going to get at least pulled over and get a stern talking to from this gentleman. And this woman, and maybe one of the most magical experiences of my life, in a 1985, Toyota Camry.
Yes.
It's red. She blows by me going 90. Right as we pass the cop. If the cop is here, she's here and occludes him so that he can't see me. And
Well,
she's
but
Did
it
you
doesn't
just
work like
use
that, though,
the
right?
right
They're-
context
they're
of the word
going-
eclipse?
They shoot.
occlude. Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
god, that needs to be mentioned. That was such grammatical magic.
And so
But
he's-
aren't they shooting radar straight
they look
at
this
you?
way, but I did not know how fast this woman was going in her
Right.
Toyota Camry
That's
because I was
amazing.
going very fast.
So you were
I
focusing
wasn't-
on you, and
yeah.
she was just blitzing.
I'm out here in jeans and a jacket and a helmet, and I'm really focused on me at that time. And this woman, when I slow down, she blows by me, and the cop pulls out behind us. And I'm like, okay, it's her or me. It's her or me. I lose my license, or this woman gets a stern talking to. Is one of the two. And we drove, for 5 minutes with this cop behind us, and then he disappeared.
What?
It was unbelievable. He was right behind us, gone.
I think they do that on purpose just to
Oh,
make you be instead of a warning, because that's worse than a warning of pulled over.
Oh, my
almost.
own fear of what would happen, right? There are horror movies where they don't show you the monster, at least until the end.
exactly.
And those are the
That's what they
scariest
do.
ones because it's in your mind, right? And that experience of realizing I was so in the wrong and not having any excuse, there's no reason for me to do that. That moment of him being behind me thinking this is a house of cards that I have very haphazardly constructed and it is now tumbling down. That moment, I changed my whole philosophy on driving and riding, and maybe that's all you need is just one moment like that where you're like, oh, never mind. There's
So you haven't
consequences.
you haven't broken the speed limit since.
I've broken the speed limit.
See, I feel like
Let's
that
not
would make
be
me
crazy.
feel all the more invincible.
But
If I'm being 100% honest, I don't think that I would be mature enough to take that as a warning or as
Oh, I took it as a sign from God. You got one more. Cat got 9 lives. You're on number 8
See,
right now.
I feel like I would have taken it as a very separate sign that, yeah, you probably
haven't
can't be
died yet.
touched.
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I realized oh no, this is. this is like, what am I going to tell my mom or my dad, you know, hey, I got this motorcycle 2 months ago. Now I don't have a license.
Do you think either
You
of them
both
would be
warned me.
surprised?
I don't think either of them would be surprised. I think my mom would try to find a way to be supportive. I think she would say something very nice,
She's
like,
an angel.
at least you can use the train or the bus, you know, you're not too far away, you can, like, still get around and maneuver. And I think my dad would probably have won a bet with his friends and been like, yeah, I knew it all along. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Called it.
He's not like my real
Called it.
son, Dylan.
Yeah. Yeah. For people who don't know us very well, my father he's an amazing person. I mean, he's got a heart of gold.
Arguably the man.
Yeah. He's like a man's man, you know. He
Firefighter.
hunts, firefighter. He rides a Harley Davidson. You know, he's a man's man. And my mom is very supportive. So you could walk up to my mom, like, for example, when I graduated high school, before I knew what I wanted to do and before I went into like astrophysics and stuff, I applied to major in dance at CU Boulder. At
What? I'm
dance.
just now learning
Yeah.
this.
We did not
Yeah.
know this.
Yeah,
As
so-
your roommate for over a year?
Yeah. So graduating high school, I had two options, right? Get a scholarship, like a full ride scholarship to go to school, or work construction. And I ended up getting this scholarship that was really cool, that let me go and get a degree in any Colorado school, and they would pay for it all, no matter what it was. And before I received the scholarship notification, you know, like, hey, you got it, I was trying to think, what am I going to do? And I had a job lined up doing construction. So I was going to like lay asphalt on the road. And it was going to be a very different life than I have now. And I got this scholarship and it was great. And I told my mom.
Wait, and how many people get this scholarship per year?
So 40 people in Colorado get the scholarship a year.
Out of
However many
However
kids.
many students
Yeah.
graduating.
Yeah.
tens of thousands.
You have to be in the top 10% of your school to even apply, and I think that's a couple thousand, like 5,000 or so kids are able to apply, and they pick 42 out of those 5,000 kids, right? And so I got this notification that I got this scholarship, and I was at my girlfriend at the time's house hanging out with her and her family. And they were like, oh, this is so exciting. We went and we got like sparkling juice because it was like the champagne for people who can't drink, you know?
Yeah.
who've never drank before in high school.
Yeah,
high school
we've
seniors
never
that have
drank
never
in high
drank
school.
in.
And like I called my dad, you know, and I was like, hey, I got this. And he was like, cool. And then hung up. And my mom cried and cried and cried, like happy tears. And then I told her, hey, maybe I'm going to go to CU Boulder and study dance, to be a backup dancer for Britney Spears, or maybe a dancer
Yes.
on Broadway.
Yes.
And she was like, yes, that is so cool, because she's such a supportive person, right?
I feel like if your mom had a tagline, it would just be full throttle enthusiasm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incapable of anything less than 100% support.
I just learned about a week ago that a couple of my close friends would actually send my mother Mother's Day cards because they felt so
What?
close to her. Yeah.
Oh, I really dropped
Yeah.
the ball this year. I did not
I
send
know,
her
I
a
know.
Mother's Day
Not
card.
this year. We got to.
Oh, that's right. It's new year.
We got a couple months.
Clean slate.
We can do
Clean
it.
slate. We can still do it.
Oh, I'm
We
so
can still
down.
do it.
I feel like Dylan and I should make a handmade card.
Yeah,
Like a
she
real
would love that.
macaroni
Yeah,
art
if you
nonsense.
glued macaroni into a smiley face on the card,
Yeah.
I bet she would cry. She
I
is
feel like she might.
just such a wonderful person. I think that
I mean-
amount of joy would like
Yeah,
overwhelm
heck yeah.
her. I think that it would just like, it would be incredible.
Oh,
I mean,
I
think about it.
The
last you're about to be like, I got macaroni.
yeah. No, the last Mother's Day card I made my mom was like a pop-up flower garden type.
I
situation.
remember that.
Cool.
Yeah, I googled how to do that, and so when you
How to
open
make
it,
a pop-up book?
yeah, so when you open it,
Awesome.
well, it's like it was a horizontal one, so you open it, and then it's just a bunch of tulips and flowers. And
Wow.
I do
stuff.
remember that.
Cool.
Yeah. So
I
we got that.
remember-
I mean, I'm down for macaroni too, but we got.
No, we
got
should
some
do
skills
your
we can
idea.
combine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she
Yeah.
would love anything. If it was like an index card that like had misspelled her name, She would still feel so
with
loved.
a CH.
Yeah.
We'll look on Facebook. We'll make sure that is the secret. If you
Yeah.
need to know how to spell somebody's name, you look on Facebook.
Yeah,
Always.
absolutely.
Thank God for Facebook.
I think that's the only thing
People's
I use
birthdays
Facebook
and their
for
names.
anymore.
Yeah, thanks somebody for real.
I think that's literally the only reason I use Facebook is to correctly identify people's names. and
Yes,
the
yeah,
spelling
yeah,
thereof.
yeah. Absolutely.
All right, sorry. So continue. You're talking about your mom and your dad. You just got the scholarship.
Yeah.
The main difference between them.
Yeah, so my dad is like, cool, okay. And, my mom weeps. She's so happy. She's like, my little boy can go to college. And we fought through a lot to get to that point, to, like, be able to go to college. And that I think, is the fundamental difference. Like, my dad, sometimes he has, I think, difficulty expressing, like, emotions. And like for me, for example, when I got a job working for the European Space Agency in Europe, and I went over
You're
there.
kidding.
He was like, oh, cool. This is really cool.
Like high five or
But-
handshake or just like.
I mean, we
Punch
talked
on
on
the
the
shoulder.
phone, and he was like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that's cool. And I didn't realize until I was a little bit older, after I had that job, that I don't think that's the best way to impress him. I think the best way is what you did, which is to jump on a bull. Because we went to
Granby.
the professional bull riding here at the
yeah.
stock show, and you both were like, "That's easy.
No,
I could
wouldn't-
ride a bull."
I don't think you said that's
no.
easy.
Easy. I just thought I'd be good at it, and it seemed worth it because the pro prize is like
Yeah, the money.
unbelievable
Yeah.
money.
It's $100,000 to win.
I'd try
you-
for $100,000 just about anything.
For
Yeah,
eight,
for real,
8
for real.
seconds, $100,000 is a pretty
That
good.
is a payout.
time.
you worked
That
out
is
to
a
an
payout.
hourly rate.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. That's
Right.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
So
we
that-
were at the pro bull riding, and we saw the pros ride these bulls, and you guys were like, I could do that. I could do that. And you didn't know, I knew some people in bull riding. So we made it happen. And we went up to a rodeo and signed you up, Dylan, to go and ride this bull in a rodeo with cash on the line. If you win the money, in front
It's
of
like
a
a
crowd.
$5,000 purse, right?
It was definitely some
decent.
substantial
You
money.
guys have the story. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
To this day,
I don't recall.
one of the largest regrets in my life is that I didn't have the
You didn't
funds
strap onto that bull.
I just couldn't justify it. I was like, I just had a talk with my wife, now wife at the time. She was my girlfriend, fiance, and I was like, she's gonna kill me if I spend money on this. I don't have health insurance. I don't.
Yeah.
There's
Right. There's
nothing
always
about
a million
this.
excuses.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was like,
for not
You
filling
and I,
your joy
I think-
quota.
Okay, and,
Yeah.
That's a good lesson
to
for
this
our
day,
listeners.
to this day.
There's always a good excuse, and
Absolutely,
for
Not to do
fulfilling
it.
your joy quota, or you could just.
it'll
do
haunt
it.
you.
And
it genuinely haunts
it will
me.
haunt you. Yeah.
To this day, I think about it probably like once a month, maybe more, where I'm like, I feel like I gotta get on a bull and do just 0.1 second better than Dylan at riding a bull.
I was so impressed. Like, we showed up and had signed you up to ride the bull in the rodeo, in front of all of these people, and, there's announcers and there's people who've been doing it for years, and you were like, I've never been on a bull. I don't know if you'd touched a bull up until that point.
I had won a
touched.
mechanical bull riding contest.
Awesome.
At
I didn't know that.
Mike
No
Hooker
way.
Clark's birthday in Costa Mesa.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
I
we
had done that.
And we had signed you up to do it. And I don't know if it was chance or if it was a sick joke played by fate or what it was, but you got this huge.
It was the biggest animal
It was
there.
by far the biggest bull there. It was
huge.
unbelievable.
I think the name was like, I kill everyone that
Biggie.
rides me.
It was
Biggie. It was
Biggie,
Biggie.
yeah,
It was
I
definitely
only
Biggie.
know from the video that you guys
Awesome.
took. I
Yeah.
wouldn't have known
Yep.
otherwise.
And we were like, okay, we'll strap you onto this bull and let you go, see how you do. And we were all pretty nervous. Because you had the gnarliest bull that could ever exist. It was unbelievable. Like, you couldn't fit it in a trailer. I don't know how they got it there. Did they use a helicopter?
I think it
don't
was
know.
born there, and then they built the
They just
stadium
raised
around
it there. And this was close to where my parents lived, so my mom and my dad showed up to watch the bull riding thing. And the whole time, my mom is so concerned. She's like, okay, we're gonna, this is really scary. She's very supportive, but you could tell she was pretty nervous. And my dad is like, attaboy, Dylan, attaboy. And you strapped on to the bull, and you went out, and you did your ride, and eventually,
it was a really good 0.3 of a second.
I checked the video. I was on it for about a second.
That's a full secnd.
I mean, not upright. I mean, I got hit in the head right away.
Yeah.
It was like...
the bull
It's
reared
on
up
YouTube, check it out.
and nailed your head with like
The humpy
The
thing.
hump.
the humpy
Yeah.
thing, yeah, and hit you in the face, and you got so concussed from that, and you fell off backward, and then the bull kicked your leg, and then with both hooves came down on your chest, which recently learned that's really bad. Somebody
not
at
great.
the Pro Bull riding
he
here at the Western Stock Show, he passed away because of that exact thing, and
I'm
we
real thankful.
oh,
That
it
could have
was
been
unbelievable.
Very thankful.
Yeah. And so, they dragged you out of the ring because you were at that time you were pretty concussed. And
But also later.
but also later you were still pretty concussed. But they drug you out, and the EMTs did their evaluation or whatever on you. And then my dad came
I
back.
convinced them that I was
Yeah,
fine.
This is the best part.
It's just programmed into my mind. Do not trust any doctor, paramedic whatsoever. And without any focus in my brain whatsoever, I convinced them I was okay. And then immediately turned to you guys and was like,
What did I just do?
This is my favorite
Yeah.
part.
not okay.
The lady's walking away after just telling me, like, there's no way your friend is okay. He passed the test. He seems okay. Watch him so seriously, like as serious as a person has
Oh
ever
yeah,
talked
I
to.
mean,
And
she
then
she
she's
left
5
and
steps
climbed
away.
back into the ambulance.
And then Dylan just looks at me and just goes, I'm not okay.
and we're back there, behind the scenes at the rodeo, and my dad came over and was like, "I'm proud of you, Dylan," and my heart dropped because I was like, I don't know if he said that to me. All I had to do was ride a bull. That's awesome. And now I know, like sometimes what you think is really cool and impressive might not be what other people think. And I realized that I think in that moment that the way that I've been going about this relationship has been wrong for the last 20 years, Like I've been trying to focus on this area where he's focused somewhere else. And I mean, the moment that I realized that, like, he and I are closer now than we've ever been.
What?
And
This is
So
new.
I brought
Yeah.
you closer
story.
to your dad.
Oh yeah, He and I talk about that a lot. We actually went and got lunch on Friday. He and I, and we went. I figured he was gonna come down. We were gonna get lunch. I was gonna eat for about an hour, and then he was gonna go off because he had to come down to do some business in Denver, and we ended up hanging out for about 4 hours at the lunch place, just talking and just hanging out and chatting. And it was incredible. And we talked about you bull riding, literally a week ago. And what was that? That was 2 or 3 years ago that you strapped
it
on
was
that
like
bull.
less than a year
and a
ago.
half. No,
Was it?
a
Year and a half? Yeah.
No, it was this past summer. It was
No,
for
it was
sure
summer
2018, wasn't it?
No. It
17.
was, because I was
Okay.
living with you guys at the time.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, that helped me realize so much when you were like, I'm going to do this because it's something that I want to do. And, I
don't
know
if
that
I
it's
wanted
scary.
to. I'm more like, if I say I'm going to do something,
There
I will
was
do
a
it.
certain aspect of that. You were like, I said I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it.
That was one of the more impressive parts.
Oh, it
Because
was
even if you
unbelievable.
watch the footage, you can see the moment where your resolve kicks in. Because, I've never seen you that concerned, probably ever. Well, we've done some pretty ridiculous stuff. There's a very clear moment in the video, which there may or may not be a link to, underneath. Literally, you can see him like really just not feeling great, and then all of a sudden Dylan just takes this deep breath and he's just like, I'm in it now.
And the announcer at the rodeo, Dylan the villain fool.
Yeah, we worked so
and the
hard
crowd
to get
goes
that.
crazy.
We
spent
hard to get you
an
that
hour
nickname.
talking to the announcer so that he said it right, you know?
Yeah, because it seems like a simple nickname, but he really had trouble with it. We worked really hard to make sure you got called Dylan the villain.
Unbelievable. It was so great.
Sure
It was so great. And I think that moment like really cemented, at least in my dad's mind, that like, you know, this is unbelievable. This is really cool that somebody would be so dedicated to the things that they said that they would do, that even like at the risk of personal injury or you know, public embarrassment or whatever, they're still gonna do it no matter what.
Yeah.
And that shit was so inspiring to me. It was crazy. Like, we drove back home. It took us 2 hours to get home, and you didn't remember that we went to the rodeo.
Dude, one of the funniest parts of that was you didn't remember that you'd hurt yourself. So, like, every couple minutes, you just go, oh my God, why does my leg hurt so bad? Like, Dylan, you got stomped on by a bull. Why?
It was incredible. It was incredible. And it was really cool for me. I was a passenger. You were driving and you were up front and I was in the back. And that 2 hour drive home.
Just to be clear, Dylan was not driving. You said you twice.
Gavin
was driving.
Gavin, you were driving. And Dylan was in the passenger seat and I was in the back, and it gave me so much time to reflect on like all of these things, you know, like sticking true to your word and like trying to find that joy kind of almost, I mean, at that point, pretty much at any cost. And just like realizing the things that resonate with different people that might not resonate personally with you, but that really resound through other people. And it was so cool. It like I said, it changed my relationship with my dad. Just the fact that you did it. You know,
What
and
a
that
cool
I was like,
ending to a story.
Yeah,
part of it.
that I didn't even know.
I didn't know until this
yeah,
day.
oh, it was incredible. It was incredible. Yeah. I'll remember that forever. I remember pretty much every minute of that whole day.
I remember Sam and I both laughing very hard while you got the shit kicked out of you by that bull. And then the rodeo.
And then you hear,
yeah, you can watch in the video, like the camera turns down. And we both took separate videos, but they're identical. And the sounds of like, oh no, is exactly the same. And it's right when the rodeo clown pushes Dylan back to his feet and he just falls back over, and we're like, uh-oh. It's just like,
and then the video ends because you and I were thinking, we're about to jump into this ring and pull him out.
we have to
and
go
that bull
save
is still
him.
in the ring. And we know that we got to pull him out and then lift you over the fence. And yeah, that video, both of us on our phones recording you. Like, I think if we were to look at both of videos on our phones, they'd be the exact same length.
Same amount of
Because
length.
you hear in the video that you'll probably link in the description is like, oh, and then it ends.
Just the
Because we
most
both
concerning.
realized right away, oh.
He's not well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
What an incredible night. That was great.
Yeah.
And
And what
you
a,
guys had fun.
what a great...
I don't even remember leaving the house in Denver.
Dude, do you remember... Well, yeah, you wouldn't remember going back for your gloves or boots or something.
I
that we had to go
had
back?
forgotten my boots. I think you guys told me that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like bits and pieces. So yeah,
Oh, I'm
I've
sure.
forgotten my
It's a
boots.
patchwork
and I've
quilt.
told it. I do have this story on the video, but yeah, and then I remember they had forgotten to give me the chest protector, and then
It was one of the
Thank
other bull riders who had.
somebody.
It was one of the
Okay,
other
one of
bull
the other bull
riders.
riders.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They didn't have one for you, and someone else was like, "You're an idiot. Please put this on."
Yeah. And that
I
guy.
didn't even know that.
No,
I
they
just-
did
I just
because
knew
we
I
were like,
had
"Hey,
Yeah.
can we get him as much padding as possible?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"We don't have that.
have
That's
it."
something people bring. We don't require it, so we don't
Yeah.
stock it." And then someone's like, "What's that? His first time? Yeah, please use like
Yeah.
equipment."
Yeah, that guy.
Thank
We'll
that
call
guy.
him Nameless Extra One.
Yeah.
Nathan for short.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Nathan may have saved your life. I have no idea.
because for
Unbelievable.
sure you can
guy
see
died.
even in the scar that Dylan has, it caught him like in the chest and slid
And then
off.
slid off to the side. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got lucky with that. Like it wasn't a full weight of the bull to the
Yeah.
chest.
Yeah, it
thankfully.
slid off.
It was
glanced.
full weight
Yeah.
to the shin.
To the knee.
The
You could
shinner-
see when that was cut. I don't know what it's like nowadays, but when it was cut, you could see the cloven hoof of the bull stretch out along your
Nah,
shin
you
bone.
can still tell. That's the best guy. I've gotten a
Yeah.
lot of shinners riding bikes and stuff, but that's the best shinner of all time.
Oh, man,
It's
that was
so
a
weird how
1,000-pound bull,
how
biggie.
competitive I am with Dylan. That, I mean, I was just talking this. I was literally at a conference where I'm like, literally helping coach a bunch of people, and I'm like, a leader in this environment, and I'm trying to bring the best out of everyone involved, and I'm leading a team of close to 200 people, or helping lead a team, and the whole time at the very end I realized I just want to ride a bull so bad and be better than Dylan. It's so and like everyone, almost
recommend
all
against it.
200 of them were like,
I would recommend against
don't,
it.
and I'm like, but I said I would do it, and I made a different vow with my finances before then that I had to upkeep. But now that I have the finances and some life insurance and some health, I'm like, I feel like this might be the summer. Once I get that six pack.
We can do it anytime.
Because I need to know that I would last, even if it was 1.5 seconds. It beats Dylan. Like it's so weird.
Well, and then
I've never
that's
been
the thing.
competitive
I see- okay,
ever
here's
in
the
my
thing, though.
entire
I don't
life.
want you to do it, not only because you could get hurt, but also if you are better than me by that 1.5 seconds. I've said I've retired, but I'm not going to
You're not gonna let it slide. We'll see.
Because
All right.
now I know how to do it better.
Yeah.
in
Technically
theory.
have experience.
Yeah, I have experience.
Well,
so-
and I think even if you went a full 8 seconds on a bull, right? And even a bull bigger than the one, I don't even know how that would be possible, but
Yeah, I
bigger
don't
than the
think
one that Dylan had.
An
I
elephant.
still think even if you went 8 seconds on it, I don't think it would beat Dylan because like we showed up and we realized how real of a thing this was.
There is that small, but also I feel like I would get some points for doing it despite knowing how real it is.
Okay.
Right? Like watching
Okay.
Dylan literally almost die, and then being like, something in my bones tells me I need to still try this. In honoring that?
Yeah.
I feel like that's got to be worth something. I don't know how much.
That's fair.
Most people have tried to talk me out of it, but I really.
You
I
should go
gen-
for it. You know,
I
they don't
really think I'll
require
be.
it.
I really think I'll be genuinely, like that'll be one of those things on my deathbed. I'm like, I never rode a bull.
Well, and I had ridden bulls as a kid,
Because I know some
but it was
real
never in like
idiot people who have ridden bulls, and I'm like, I know for sure I'm a better everything than you.
yeah. Tucker's out there riding his bull, and you're
Yeah.
like, Tucker's an idiot. I could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
turns out it doesn't necessarily translate.
It doesn't.
doesn't,
It's
no.
insane. Like I had ridden bulls as a kid, but it was never in like a professional context, right? It was never in a rodeo, and they were never roped up or anything. It was always
Oh,
like
that matters a lot. That's
we
like
were
the
in a-
whole thing.
well,
Right, if it
like
doesn't have a bell on its balls, it's not going to.
exactly.
buck.
Like we were in a pasture, but we were 8, and we would jump into the pasture and we would go and we would jump on the back of the bull and we'd ride it around and it would buck and kick and like stomp around. But it's a different animal when it's roped up and like angry, And when we got there and they were like, "That's your bull," and we were like, "That one that's 2 bulls pretending to be one." It looked like 3 bulls wore a trench coat
Yeah,
pretending to be one bull.
It was the biggest creature I've seen live, and
Yeah.
I part of me thinks the rodeo really truly was like, because we showed up in like vans and like we're making a mockery of the whole thing. None of us
I
were
wonder
taking
if they
it
thought we
serious.
were insulting them and they were like, "This kid's
And
gonna
like
get
the
it."
whole time we're shitting ourselves, but it was our own way of coping with it. They were like, if we joke and we laugh about this, it won't be scary. I think they saw that as like a
straw
direct.
cowboy hat completely as a joke, which I didn't even remember
Yeah.
until I was looking at photos recently.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm like going around to all the
was
vendors like,
definitely-
look at me in a flannel, guys, and it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
like,
I wore-
oh yeah, we have to
I
make
wore my
a
Vans
message.
flannel
Yep.
and skinny pants and yeah.
And you did it, dude. That was so
was-
sweet.
Well, I'm glad I
That was so
brought some
cool,
good
man.
to your world. Actually.
You did.
I
You
never
did.
knew
I didn't know.
the happy ending to that story.
Oh,
That's
it was
pretty
awesome.
spectacular.
It was awesome.
Sick.
It was so cool. And yeah, like I said, I mean, even a year and a half, 2 years later, I mean, we still talk about it. He and I, when we're alone, you know, just are like, I can't believe that he did that. Because it was, I think I was surprised. Once we got there and they pointed out your bowl, I was like, Dylan's got to get out of jail free card here. At any point, he could be like, you know what, guys, this is a bad idea. And Gavin and I, we're both going to say, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're making a good call.
That makes sense, you know? And you still went through it. And I think that moment, he was like, you know what? This is some good company that my boy keeps. And
it was that moment on the bull where you literally saw him like resettle himself as just like a different person, like shoulders back.
Yeah.
Like, I am willing to accept death if it means I said I was going to like
do this.
It was the craziest moment. To this day, that is the definition of courage in my mind, where you know it's a bad idea, you know it's going to end poorly, and still just 100% confidence going in. It was crazy.
It was unbelievable.
And I'm not sure why, just in general, like, I just completely believe in doing what I say I'm going to do.
I think, I've heard that if you don't have your word, you don't have anything. You know, it's like, it's cowboy ethics, right? And
which is the only law that your dad abides by.
Yeah. And it's like,
cowboy law.
I so believe that, you know, when it's like you say you're going to do something, you should do it. And to a certain extent, like, you have to do it. Sometimes it sucks, you know, like your friends are like, we're going out Friday night. Do you want to go? And Friday night rolls along and it's 10 o'clock and you're like, man, I've had a long week. I just want to stay in. But there's something about overcoming that moment where you're like, I shouldn't do this, but I said that I would. And there are people depending on me. Like, I think that is a huge foundation of trust that allows you to get to places in your life that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise, right? Like,
absolutely.
Like, if you have a friend and, you know, you love this guy and he's like, you know, we're going out Saturday night, and then he bails, and he bails again, and he bails again. You're starting to see kind of a pattern, and you're like, I don't really want to be around this person. But then when you meet somebody, and I think in a really almost sad way that it's not valued as much as maybe it should be, but sticking to your word and saying, like, if I say I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it, that is so important in a professional context, in a friendly context. I mean, in every aspect of your life. I think that's one of the most important things that you can do as a human being. To just say, you know, if I say I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it, right? If I say I'm going to be there at 6:30, I'm going to be there at 6:30. Not 7, not text and say, hey, I'm going to not go. You know, I think that is such an incredible thing. And finding people like you, Dylan, who are say, I'm going to do this and then do it. I mean, I think that puts you above so many people with resources. Like if you meet somebody and they're super rich and they're very successful or whatever, and you look up to them just based on, you know, your first impressions of them, and you say, hey, we're going to do this, and they say, hey, I'm going to be there, and then they bail. I think that is just indicative of what kind of person that they might be. And when you're able to, especially like you did, when it's like scary, when it's scary. I mean, because I had butterflies that night you rode the bull.
Dude, that was the
and I wasn't on the
craziest.
bull. I was terrified. And you were like, I'm still going to do this because I said I was going to do it. That is so incredible to me. That's like the sign of a person who is good. Right? Whether or not you think that good and evil exists or right and wrong, I don't care.
Well, it's like the definition of
that.
integrity, right? Like,
yeah, integrity. Exactly.
And like, if you can't, for whatever, there might be a genuinely valid reason you can't all of a sudden meet your word.
Sure.
Then at the moment you find out, the definition of integrity would involve you have to then make it right. You have to then make whoever is involved known about it, and you have to really truly do whatever it takes to make that right, whether it's reschedule, whether it's compensation, whether it's whatever it looks like making it right is a part of integrity too. Like that's where I'm at with wanting to ride the bull still, because I really truly was 100% committed, and then being so committed to Allie, I was like, I cannot honor what I've promised her that I would do with my finances. If like I don't have a job right now, I can barely feed myself, but I go blow money on a rodeo to go potentially really injure myself and make it even harder to meet all these promises I gave her. I was like, I really can't honor that, versus now that I'm in a place where I can, I'm like, it genuinely gnaws me up, where I'm like, I have to, simply for the act of integrity. Like I said I was going to do it. I also want to do it, despite the fact that it's a terrible idea. Like, that's such a weird thing that I don't know. It's crazy.
Right, after watching me do it, to then go do it.
It's a different kind of gnarly, for sure. Because I don't think
Yeah, it's kind of like
What
the
you
gnarliness
experienced.
of the unknown versus the gnarliness of the known.
Yeah.
You know?
Because that was truly impressive about that, for sure. Well, and speaking of the unknown,
We're good
what?
on.
Speaking of the unknown, I feel like no one knows this, but Sam's actually dealt with a lot of crazy unknowns in his life. He's been through some insane stuff where most people, or really anyone, didn't know the outcome of what was going to happen even the next day. What did you do to kind of keep yourself going in those moments in order to make life worth living in those moments, to find the joy, to make sure that while you were taking care of your health, while you were taking care of your finances or your mental capacities, you were also taking care of that soul, the heart, filling that joy quota? What were some of, I feel like that's such a crazy story that you have. It'd be awesome to know some of the stuff you did.
Yeah, so I had some health issues where they had to take out my intestines, and unfortunately, none of the procedures that I went through went like according to plan. You know, so I was told I would need 2 surgeries to take out my intestines, and then I would be okay. And every single one of them went wrong in some way. And I stopped counting after 20 surgeries. I figure now I had somewhere near 50.
Jeez.
You know, to get it all sorted out. And there were moments, I remember one moment where I had a surgery to take out my intestines. And the doctor came in and said something went wrong. But I had never seen this doctor before. And it through a series of administrative things and surgical things, my surgeon had dropped me after he realized that the surgery went wrong because he didn't want a fatality on his surgery record, right?
What?
Yeah, so
Did you do that?
Yeah, so I had a couple surgeries, and my surgeon who had done those realized that he had messed up. So he left the country that night. He was from India.
The country?
Yeah, he flew.
Wow.
So before I was awake from anesthesia, he had already booked a flight to go back to India to do like doctor work there, so that he could drop me as his patient, so that I didn't have, so that he didn't have a fatality on his record, right? So that his stats were better. And this guy walked in, it was like 2 a.m, and he said, hey, the other surgeries went wrong. We're going to do a surgery right now, and you're not going to make it. And so, you know, at that time, I was 18. It was the first week of college, which is not how I wanted to start college. You know, in my head, I was like, I've seen porn. College is all about like orgies and partying and drinking. This is going to be
dicks.
great. Yeah. And my first week, I was in the hospital, and I had gone through, by the end of the first week, I'd gone through about 20 surgeries. That's when I stopped counting.
Wow.
And so this guy walked in 2 a.m. and he said, hey, his exact words were, you know, you have to make your peace with God. You have to make your peace with God.
Wow.
And you need to call who you need to call because it's over. And so that was the first time I ever wrote my will, and it was on a sticky note, right? I wrote my will. It was about 5 sticky notes long. It was short.
That's a decent amount of stuff for a college student, in all honesty.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of it was writing things like tell my parents that I love them,
Okay.
that they couldn't have done a better job raising me, and that like regardless of what happens, they should feel proud. My friend at the time, he's still my friend now, Keenan is his name. I had willed him my computer because that week his computer had broken and
What a
I
good
had a
guy.
working laptop. So I was like, okay, if I die, give Keenan my laptop, sell every single one of my other possessions to pay for the funeral. And then I talked about what I wanted to do in the funeral and stuff. And so I wrote my will at that time for the first time and gave it to my nurses to give to my parents in the chance that I died. And the surgeon said that I had, like a 5% chance of making it through this, that it was over. And they put me on this metal gurney and they took me into the operating room and then they started. And they cut out my intestines without anesthetic because all the anesthesiologists were in like different emergency surgery cases. So they just started. And so I passed out about the time they took out my intestines. When I saw them pulling it out, I passed out because I was like, okay, I'm going to check out of this. We all expected that I was going to, die. And there were moments in that where you're thinking to yourself, like, you have all kinds of crazy thoughts where you're like, do I regret anything that I've done in my life? Or do I have these moments where I think I could have been a better person? Or, what could I do to be better or more truly who I am? How can I be who I am? And it was unbelievable. At the time, very difficult, right? It was, I thought it was very tragic. I was 18 and it was an amount of brutality that I'd never experienced before, right? But afterwards, it totally changed who I was. Like at that time, I was 18. I had been accepted to the University of Denver. I was studying philosophy and creative writing. And I just like that was my jam. I really liked thinking about things and I really liked writing poetry. And that's what I wanted to do. And I went through this experience and coming out the other side, I woke up after the surgery, which was, like 9 hours long. I woke up and there was like a moment of reflection of like this absolute truth where you think, okay, there's who I am and there's who I want to be, right? And those might not be in the same space, right? It might be left hand and right hand, and they don't quite perfectly line up. And I was able to kind of, in a very bare, open, kind of raw space, be real with myself. Because none of us expected that I would wake up from it. The doctors had told my parents that I was going to die.
That's crazy.
I had called everybody that I needed to call and said my goodbyes. And coming out the other side, being alive and thinking, okay, I have a life to live. Only this one, which is so fragile. I'd never realized how close you are constantly to death. That if you aren't going for the things that make you happy, if you aren't doing what you want to do, then there's no reason to do those things, right? Like in high school, I had this teacher who was unbelievable. He was my English teacher. He was the reason I started getting my degrees in philosophy and creative writing. And when I woke up from the surgery, I realized that I love those things, but they're not my greatest passion in life. Like I had been studying space since second grade. And there was this moment of clarity where I realized if I'm not studying this thing that's captivated me since I was in second grade, that I've always been passionate about, maybe I'm selling myself short, right? So I came out of the surgery and in the ICU, I was isolated, right? Because I was like a critical case. I couldn't have people come in to visit me because the germs of the people from the outside could infect me and kill me. It was a whole deal. So for about a month, I was in like essentially quarantine. And it gave me a lot of time without any externalities to be able to examine the life that I'd been living versus the life that I wanted to live, and then coming to some kind of agreement between the two. So I went back to school, 4 months after that had happened. And the first day back at school changed my degree over to astrophysics and began studying the things that I'd been passionate about all my life, but had maybe been too afraid to go for. And within a year and a half after that incident, I was working with NASA and the Hubble Telescope and taking photos of space like had always been my dream. And just that moment of like you have these hardships, which at the time are almost insurmountable, right? There are these things that cut you to your core that dramatically change the way that you view yourself. That changed, it's a paradigm shift where you just everything that you'd ever been living for has been proven wrong. But there's a certain freedom in that where you realize, oh, you can do whatever you want. And in that moment, you can choose, okay, I want to do the things that make me happy, or I want to do the things that I feel like I should do for whoever, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah. So I
feel like everybody owes it to themselves to almost die once.
Yeah,
right? Like there's something so... Everyone I know that's had a near-death experience has almost, without using these words, described it as an actual life experience where they're like, oh my God, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. Yeah. I now know where to pursue, what actually matters. I feel like there's something so valuable in that experience.
I think
totally or somebody close to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think near-death experiences should be called near-life experiences, just because, like, if you're almost in a car accident, your thoughts are, like, about your family or your significant other or your kids if you have them.
All the things that actually matter surface up real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
And it becomes very apparent where you've been focusing isn't where you are actually passionate, just like what you're describing. Our guest Brian Gavigan, same exact experience where he had this crazy near-death experience, and all he could think was, I'm not where I should be, and it's no one's fault but my own.
Well, it definitely, those experiences, they say you only live once, right? YOLO. Right? It's like, that's wrong. You live every day. You only die once.
Yeah.
So if you live every day, every day should be about your living, right? Like whether it's pursuing the career you want or the person you want to be with or, pursuing the person that you want to be. There's so much in those moments of crisis or those like near-life experiences where it becomes clear that this is really what I want. And there were moments where, after that operation, I had a line. I still have the scar in my arm. It was threaded through my artery into my heart, and that's how I ate for like 3 months.
Whoa.
Yeah, they would just pump nutrients into my heart, and my heart would pump it through my body.
That's crazy.
And it was about 5 feet of tubing that they threaded through my body, through my arteries, into my heart. And when they took it out, I asked the doctor, can I do this? Because it was the last thing we had to do. I had taken out from my stomach surgeries, I had taken out all of the staples myself with like essentially a pair of pliers. I went to the doctor to make sure that it was like okay, and he said it's time for the staples to come out. And I was like, I want to do this. So I pulled out all of the staples, and the very last step was pulling this thing out of my heart. He went to start. And I said, hey, can I do this? It's the very last thing we have to do before I'm like normal again. And if it's the last thing, I want to be the one to do it. And I was his first patient who had ever asked, can I do this myself? And he told me, yeah. So I sat inside of his examination room, and I pulled out the line from my heart. And like they don't tell you you don't have nerves inside of your arteries, right? There's no reason to. You have nerves on like the edges of your skin and stuff.
Oh, that's interesting.
But you don't have nerves inside of your body because there's no external stimuli, right? So when you pull something out of your heart, if it's threaded through your arteries, you don't feel a sensation like tactily, you feel pressure changes.
Weird.
Yeah. So when you pull something out of your heart, if it's threaded through your arteries, you feel the line bouncing around through the pressure changes. And it feels almost like if you descended from the mountains to sea level only in one part of your body.
That's
It's
crazy.
very strange. And so I asked him, can I take this out? And he said yes. And so I pulled it out. And that moment was so powerful to me because it gave me power over the situation. I didn't have power over being dealt this card, right? Like these were diseases that were genetic that I had no control over. It wasn't like I'd been smoking too much and I got lung cancer or like, something that I had done to myself. It was just something that happened to me. But that moment gave me the power to take control over it. And so when I pulled out these 5 feet of tubes out of my heart, and I could feel my heart pumping, right? Like, my heart was racing, and I could feel these things being pulled out of my arteries. It gave me a certain power, right? To be like, you know what? I might not be able to control what happens to me, but I can control how I react. And I can control what happens after this, right? This can be something that destroys me or something that makes me better. And I decided, okay, this is going to make me better. So I yanked this thing out of my heart and I went back to school and I switched from philosophy and creative writing to astrophysics. And I started studying, and there were moments where I was like, this is so above me. This is so hard, and this is for people who are smarter than I am. But then I could remember, like, all right, well, 3 weeks ago, I pulled something out of my still beating heart. Like, I can do this. Like, if I can yank something out of my heart and still live through it, I can do this. I can do this homework. I can get this job. I can be with this person that I like. It gave me this strength to keep going. And I think that there's something to be said about that when these things happen to you that you might not have control over. Like, even if you're driving and you get T-boned and it's not your fault and you never saw it coming, there can be aspects of that push who you are to the surface. It might have been hiding. You might have been working in an office job or something that you hate. And those moments, I think, give you so much strength to keep going or to view things in a different way or to feel like, you know what, I do have agency. I have power over these things.
Yeah, there's something so wonderful about taking ownership that you are 100% responsible of your own life's experience.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter what happens to you, it's how you react to what has happened that matters 100%, right? Like how you could have chosen to look at, like, my dad's never told me that he's proud of me, and he just told it to this dude he's never literally met ever, what is going on, versus being like, oh, clearly I can just shift how I'm thinking, and now you guys are close, right? So,
yeah. And there's an aspect to that is so powerful for the individual experiencing it. It changes everything about you when you see those truths laid bare on the table, right?
That's so crazy.
Like, there was a moment I was going through surgery. We had been in Mexico, my family and I. It was my mom and my dad and my grandparents and my girlfriend at the time. I'd gone through, however many surgeries it was. It was probably like 30 or 40 surgeries. And I was finally better. I was like, okay. And we talked to my doctor and said, hey, now that I'm better, my family and I, we want to go to Mexico for spring break and just kind of celebrate the fact that, like, I'm alive. I've still been doing my studies. Like, everything is finally okay. Everything's okay. Can we go to Mexico for the spring break? And my doctor said, yeah, sure, of course. And we went to Mexico, and on the first day we were there, my stomach felt upset. And we went to the ER to kind of get it checked out, right? And it turned out things had gone wrong inside of me. So I spent the next 6 months in Mexico undergoing, I couldn't even begin to say how many surgeries to get it all fixed. But there was one moment I had told the doctor, I feel bad. And the doctor ran some tests, and he came back and said, hey, this is what's going on. You need to have these same surgeries you've done 15 times before. You have to do them again because none of it worked. Like, your doctor who said you could go to Mexico, he was wrong. It's totally screwed. Like, we're starting from the beginning. Whoa. And at that point...
So did going to Mexico...
Was it like the flying and the pressure changes?
It was just that...
The food, the
it was,
burritos.
Yeah.
So the doctor who had done the surgeries a few months before that, I had at that point about half of a small intestine, but no large intestine or anything else. When he put my intestines back inside of me, he had twisted them around, so they had choked off, and my insides had exploded. Okay,
that's never a good thing.
Which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But how did you not notice this?
Well,
They're wrinkly.
It's great.
Really awful.
Yeah. So the inside of me, the small intestine that was remaining had been twisted.
Basically,
okay.
cholera?
Well, yeah, basically cholera.
Colic?
So the intestine had been twisted, which made the opening smaller. And then at the opening, scar tissue started to build up because it had been cut into so many times. That over, a few months, the scar tissue kept building up until there was no opening left.
Wow.
And then I just exploded on the inside, right? And my doctor had told me that. This is all in Spanish. And I told him...
Thank God for Spanish apps on your phone. Learn that Spanish quick. Otherwise, you've been screwed.
Yeah, he's in the hospital on Rosetta Stone.
Yeah. Using Google Translate. He's like, what do you want a donkey here? This is really weird. Luckily for me, I spoke Spanish pretty well, pretty fluently at that time. And he told me all of this. And I was like 20, 21. And I was like, it's not worth it to go through this again. This has been 3 or 4 years of just agony. And at that point, I was like, I have no regrets. And I told him, don't do the surgery, let me die. And he said, okay. And so like 2 months after that, they go to do the surgery. And they wheel me into the surgery room. And I haven't heard...
Because you just, wouldn't die. So you're...
Well, I told him, let me die. If you need to do anything, take me into the operating room. Relieve the pressure so I don't explode, because that'll be gross.
Yeah.
It'll smell bad. People will
No
be
one wants
upset.
that, yeah.
Yeah. If, I'm chilling in my hospital room and then I just explode, it's going to be gross.
Inconvenient.
Yeah.
It's going to be inconvenient. The janitors are going to be pissed. Yeah.
No one wants to Olympiar that.
Yeah,
No one wants to
exactly.
The teddy bears that they brought you to cover and you can't donate them.
So for 2 months, I went through these surgeries that were just to relieve the pressure to make sure I didn't explode and to clean up the septic stuff inside of me. And after about 2 months, they were like, we're going to take you in. We're going to do one final surgery to relieve the pressure and stop this all from happening. And then you will die, right? You'll go through the surgery, you'll come out, you'll go into a hospice room, and you will slowly pass away and die. And so I heard all of that, again, all in Spanish, and I called everybody that I wanted to say goodbye to.
Wait, that does say something about their healthcare system, that they were going to do that surgery anyway?
Well, they were
knowing that you were going to die anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like some hospitals and stuff just wouldn't
Yeah, I don't think the American healthcare
Like if they knew
system
you were gonna
would've done
die,
that.
they would just be like, "Oh, fuck off."
He's just gonna die.
Yeah,
It
just
doesn't
load
matter
his-
about
Even
how much
Mexico,
pain.
where they want to build
Yeah.
this fucking wall, they're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, we're gonna at least make you not explode in the goddamn hospital room."
Yeah,
We're gonna make it as nice for you as possible and as peaceful versus.
yeah.
We're not even gonna touch how broken the healthcare system is.
Don't get
we'll
me
all
started.
get angry, yeah.
And so they were gonna do this surgery, which was gonna like relieve some of my pain, and then I would come out into a hospice room, and I would slowly fade away into memory, right? And I was fully aware that that is what was gonna happen, right? I had called my friends and I had said my goodbyes. I had sent letters to people. Again, I wrote my will, and I was ready, right? You know, ready to go. There was nothing left, right? Every loose end was tied up, you know. Every ex-girlfriend that was still mad at me, I had talked to everyone. And my life
That's
was
kind of a cheap move on the. Hey, just so you know, I am dying, so
peace out.
I guess you can be angry. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a laptop.
Yeah,
I'll give my best friend my laptop.
Yeah, exactly. Keenan actually still
got that.
had my laptop. I was like, if, you know, like I know I'm going to die, my laptop was willed to Keenan still because I didn't die before.
True story. I've ended up with that laptop.
You have you have that laptop. Keenan has nothing.
I used that laptop to drop my phone off at the Sprint store today.
Yep. Yeah, I saw it last time I was at your house. I saw that laptop. I was like,
Password
this has been through a
B-side
lot.
one. Yeah.
And
I'm actually devastated by that. Keenan does not have the laptop.
I think he has
he
one
probably
now.
has a much nicer laptop.
I
by
have
now.
no idea. He and I don't talk
yeah.
about what kind of laptop he has nowadays.
Back on track.
So we went into the operating room, and I knew I was going to die. I had accepted it, right? At this point, I hadn't heard English for 2 or 3 months, and I was alone in Mexico going through all of this. And they played Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. It was the first time I'd heard English in months.
Whoa.
Yeah, Wish You Were Here. And the whole time, I wasn't thinking about the things that I wished I had done or how I could have treated people better. It was just about like wanting to be close to the people close to me, right? And like I was really close with some of these people. Like I had a catheter for like 2 or 3 months up until this point. And I had sent some of my friends photos of the catheter because it was like, look at how ridiculous this shit is, you know? And you know you're close friends with someone when you send them like an unsolicited dick pic and they're like, yeah, dude, that looks hard.
And that's
And
an
they're not
aggressive
talking
one,
about
too,
your
yeah.
erection. They're
Yeah.
like, that looks difficult, right?
Yeah.
And they played Wish You Were Here. And it was like this moment where I was on the operating table and I had accepted my own death, right? I knew I was going to die. I was going to maybe wake up from this, but I would only be awake for maybe 2 days after this until I died. And all I could think about was how I had wished these people who had impacted my life were there just to be with me for one final goodbye, you know, so that I could hug my friends and like tell them that I loved them before I became something else, right? And there was a moment in that where I was just thinking about nothing about myself. My pain had gone away. It was on the back burner. You know, if you live with pain long enough, it just kind of becomes part of life.
Yeah.
But all I could think about was how I needed to be closer to these people and how I wanted to be with them, right? And how I wish that they had known what they had done for me. And I came out of it on the other end, and they ended up doing a surgery that saved my life during that surgery, unbeknownst to me for months. They did this surgery, and I woke up not in hospice care. I woke up in the ICU. They had me crucified on a table. It was sweet. They had like my arms like strapped down on this table and my head strapped down and my legs and everything, so I couldn't move at all.
To like not break stitches and stuff.
Yeah, well, they thought that I had asked them not to do the surgery because I wanted to die, Which, you know, like at that time I was like, I don't see a point in living if this is what's going to keep happening. But the surgery they did ended up saving my life. But I didn't know, so they kept
Shout
me.
out to whoever Sam's doctor was.
Yeah, it was great man. Great man. But I remember so vividly, even though I was on an insane amount of drugs, being on that metal table in the operating room, listening to Wish You Were Here, just weeping, not for me, but for the people that I loved, right? And coming out of that gave me this sense of like, you know, there are people in my life that I don't know if they know that I love them. Like, I tell my friends all the time now, like, hey, I love you. And I never said that before. I don't know why. You know, I can't even put myself into my shoes beforehand, but like, I mean, I've told you guys, hey, you know, I love you.
It's my favorite way to end a
1,000
phone
times.
call.
Yeah.
Even if it's with like someone I normally wouldn't say that to. Like it's so weird the responses people get from me because I'm literally hanging up the phone with like someone I'm friends with, but they would never expect us to be like insanely close. I'm like, I love you, and they're like, what? And I'm like, no, for real, like I really love you, and it's crazy.
Yeah,
to
people
like,
think you misspoke or something, and it's like, no, like I want you to know, like you're an important person in my life.
Absolutely.
And you know, recovering after that and realizing, okay, I might live. Just being able to tell people in your life who aren't your family or, you know, your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever, just like, hey, you know, I love you, was just this moment that was like, I've had my best friend since like 3rd grade, and I don't think I'd ever told him, hey, I love you, until after this. And I think being able to just do that, you know, not in like a weird sexual way or anything, but just really showing those people how important they are, that brought me so much joy when I came out the other side. Yeah. And I was able to be open with these people and be like, hey, you know, like if something happens tonight, like if I get struck by a car or have a brain aneurysm or whatever, like I love you. Just
Absolutely.
Having that ability to just really be open with the people who are close and important to you. Like I'd never experienced that before. And then afterwards it was like, I can't believe that I never did this.
It is weird how little we tell the people who are important to us. That they are,
yeah.
Well, dude.
It also makes me feel like a piece of shit because of how much over the past like hour you've said how awesome I am, and then you have gone through this like and haven't heard your dad tell you he's proud of you. And then
I think it's a different thing, you know? Like I don't know if he's experienced those moments where it's like I need to show these people, because I know in my heart of hearts that like he's proud of me, right? And that he loves me and everything.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
The construct of his own reality is that you don't express any of that under any circumstances.
And I lived that way for 22 years.
He was proud of you
know?
after you rode the bull means less than the fact that he never told Sam, because like it was a real big moment. He's like, I honor what you've said you were going to do and you were going to do it. But what I feel for Sam, there's no way I could ever say it. And there's no way, like...
That makes sense.
That's kind of what I picture, just knowing your dad. Like,
and I imagine that for him was a moment of crisis because you were injured.
Yeah.
And he realized, like, the courage that it took for you to do that and the mortality in it, right?
Yep.
So I think that in that moment, he was very open because he was afraid for you and he was afraid of the situation. Right?
Everyone owes themselves a near-death experience. Like, even if it's not you personally being near, like you almost dying, like you said, experiencing someone you know going through it.
Yeah.
Can really transform your own life. My grandparents, the coolest people of all time, they're in their like late 80s and they still volunteered in old folks' home.
Nice.
Because they don't need to. Yeah.
Is it for free rent?
At home and volunteering at an old folks' home?
So, no, they live at their own house right on It's called Happy Hill Road. It's the coolest. They're
Awesome.
the greatest people, Nana and Papa Drake. And literally, they spend all their time with these people who have done all these things and spend all this, and they don't have the opportunity to share all the stuff that Sam was talking about.
Yeah.
Even if it's as simple as like, yeah, I remember one time I went through this one experience. They just play cards and they do stuff with these people. And I have no doubt that's part of what makes them so incredible is since they were a very young couple, they've spent time around people who were at the end of their life and spending time around people who were near, like in a near-death experience, right? Like it's so crazy what that does to the human mind to know. It's so clarifying, and I feel like we live in such a world of distractions. Even just watching someone go through something intense, like that's why we all watch drama shows and all these crazy things. Like that's the whole point, right? Is we're all trying to chase that instead of actually experience it. Which I think some of the fastest ways to experience is just get to know people's stories and get to spend time around people who've really been around it. And absolutely.
Can we tell one fun story?
That was gonna say to end it on a high note. We've been in a weird, deep place.
Can we tell the girl swap story?
Oh, that's an intense one.
Do you have a better one?
I don't have the okay.
I have a very interesting one.
Let's ask this question. What is when you think of the word joy, what's the first story that comes to mind?
Oh my God. I remember this one moment. This is going to sound lame. You guys are going to be like, okay, I don't understand
perfectly.
why.
That's the point, right?
There was this
whatever
moment.
Creates joy,
We were in high school. I was a junior, and my brother was a senior. He's like a year older than me. And we were hanging out by the football field. We all played sports and stuff. And it was after school one day, and we were hanging out. And my friend Keenan, the one who I wanted to give the laptop to, right?
Still got your laptop, Keenan. What's up?
What's up? Come get it. Come take it. He was messing with my brother, and it just he was like just kind of like poking fun at him and stuff, and Keenan is essentially my brother. He was so close to us. And my brother got upset and started chasing Keenan. And Keenan started running through the field, and my brother was chasing him. And there were like 5 of us, all really close, just watching Keenan run away from my brother. And Keenan started doing this prance where it was like gravity turned off. And he just would skip so high
moon boots
and
across
so
the field.
far, just like I'm almost doing the splits in air, just like this very elegant, jaunty run. Like it was like if jazz music could run, it's what it would look like, right? And Sean was really upset at Keenan and was chasing him down, right? Just dead sprint, stony-eyed, like gonna get Keenan. And he got so close to Keenan that he knew, like, now is my time. And he launched just perfectly horizontal to, like, tackle him. He just, just launched sideways to get him and, like, drag him down. And he launched, but he timed it perfectly wrong.
Perfectly wrong.
And
yes,
he launched, and Keenan did his jaunty splits run, and just Sean dove right under Keenan's split.
No.
Straight onto the ground. And then Keenan ran about another quarter mile, just jaunting around. And we laughed for like 2 hours. I mean, we couldn't stand. We all knew we had to go home. I mean, it was right after school. And we all knew we had to go home and like see our parents or anything. And we couldn't drive because we were laughing so hard about just what had transpired. It was this perfect moment of like the absurd, which was Keenan running and doing this like weird jaunt and like
He's such a ridiculous person to begin with.
yeah, exactly. And then
We don't
you know
Keenan.
like
we've met him.
yeah, you guys have met Keenan. And then just Sean chasing after him, you know, like angry and it was almost like a metaphor, right? Just Sean trying to chase down this absurd jaunt with just anger and passion and like giving it everything he had and just almost like chance missing it. It was this moment that was so pure that like
It was like a bunny. I picture like a bunny rabbit.
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
chasing another bunny, and then the one bunny goes under the bunny.
it was like if a hawk were hunting a bunny and then it did its dive and it went for the kill right as the
just hit,
bunny
like, a
jumped
branch.
and just like and just came down short not for its own skill. I mean, Sean had Keenan. He chased him down and was on him. It was just like this chance moment that he got away unscathed. It
Because
was
Sean's told us he's a
unbelievable.
black belt in whatever.
Oh
martial art
he's
stuff.
done all kinds of martial arts. Preach. And he was
he's a master at the
fast
big
and
punch.
quick, you know, and he was on him, and it was just this chance moment that he got away. And even Sean, like, you know, he dove and missed and landed like on his face and just slid forever.
I'm picturing like a full scorpion.
Oh yeah. And even he was laughing for so long, for hours, just like I mean, he wasn't even upset anymore. It was just this hysterical moment. It was pure joy. Even watching it transpire, you know, I wasn't a part of it. I just saw it happen. It was this great moment.
I think
I mean,
that's
that fulfills the joy quota, in my opinion.
I think that's like the perfect way to describe joy, right? Like you could chase it as much as you want, but at the end, you just have to be open to like experience it when it happens.
Yeah, exactly. Like he went from so angry to crying, laughing.
Yeah.
And just this one beautiful moment that we all witnessed and experienced together. It was unbelievable. You know, it was this moment where like there was so much going on, right? We'd gotten out of high school and there was, you know, it's high school, so there's always drama and you're always worried about what's going to happen tomorrow and what tests you have coming up. All of these things that you're just constantly worried about just faded away into this perfect moment of him diving perfectly horizontal. It was incredible. It was great. And it was a moment that like it wasn't significant in any of our lives, but we all remember to this day. I mean, 10 years on, we all remember this moment of Sean chasing Keenan through the field. You know, like it wasn't important. It didn't change any of our lives, but it was joy. It was just incredible. It was.
That's awesome. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good enough spot for me to end. Everyone else happy where we're at?
I'll drink to that.
Clankies.
Thank you guys so much
Clankies.
for having me on.
Dude,
I so
Sam,
appreciate
that
it.
was fucking amazing.
Yeah, that was well worthwhile, even just to know that the bull riding ended in such a happy story.
link that.
Yeah.
I don't get,
But yeah, seriously,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing. Thank you for being honest.
It
and
was my
open
pleasure,
and,
guys. Yeah.
being raw and real, and man,